how are you going to effectively integrate language learning into your daily life as a habit so that it sticks if you're a busy professional with a full calendar? Hey there, my name is Stefan. I have studied over 13 languages, and if there's one conversation I've probably had more than any other conversation, it's this one. People tell me, hey, I really want to learn that language, and at the end of the day, they tell me like, yeah, but I just don't have the time. And then if we kind of dive deeper, I realize they do have time. It's just that they're lacking basically the methods or maybe the priority. But if it's the method, here's the good news. This is totally solvable, okay? And I'm gonna lay out basically what I used for myself over the years that has been working great. So when I started my language learning journey, I was studying law parallelly. And I've been like in a very similar situation as I am today as a professional, which is I have a full calendar. There's certain things I need to attend, and it's not that easy to make time for language learning. But I basically developed one specific method that has helped me tremendously, and this can be applied as well for your life. And everyone has these 1 or 2 hours every day where they can just make room. So how does it look like? All right, so I've primarily learned languages over audio, right? So I listen to audio and then I just focus on what is being said. Now, without getting like too deep into the specific mechanisms on how I listen and what happens basically in my brain parallelly to the listening exercise, I just want to give you the brief outlay. So imagine this. Every person has at least 1 or 2 hours every day where they are cooking, they're cleaning their apartment, where they are driving with the bus, where they are, driving in their car, in an Uber, in a train, whatever. Like every person, I mean, of course there are exceptions, but most people, they either cook. How can you effectively integrate language learning in your daily life so that it sticks as a habit if you're a busy professional with a full calendar? Hey there, my name is Stefan. I have personally studied 13 languages, and if there's one conversation I've probably had more than any other conversation, it's precisely this one. People tell me, hey, I really want to learn this language, but I don't have the time. Whenever someone asks me, whenever someone tells me that, and we kind of dive deeper, I realize they do have the time, but they were just lacking the methodology, if you will, to effectively incorporate it into their daily life. So how does it look like? Okay, so any person, I don't care who you are, has at least 1 or 2 hours of activities where they don't actively have to think. This can be cooking, this can be cleaning the apartment or the flat, this can be taking a walk, this can be taking a train or tram or car, driving, being in the bus, anything really where you're just either going somewhere or you're doing some other activity in the house or outside the house where you don't need your brain to actively think about something. And I would say that this is at least 1, 2, or even 3 hours for every person. Now, how are you going to effectively use that time? Well, basically, now the great thing about this time, now the great thing about these activities are that you don't need to think, which means that you can use this time learning a language. Now, how would you do that? You would do that by basically doing listening exercises. And by the way, this is how I learned, I think, most of the languages, with some exceptions, mainly by starting out with listening exercises. And even when I got more intermediate, more advanced, I would still do a lot of listening exercises. Because if you know how to correctly focus while doing the listening exercises, this will just be a leap gap in your progress for that specific language. So how would that look like on a daily basis, and what kind of exercises as far as the audios would I use. So what I always use, and maybe we just narrow it down, make it very specific with one language. So let's say we want to learn Spanish. Okay, now after having a basis and having some basis vocabulary that I know, having some basic verbs that I know, basic adjectives and nouns and so forth, to have like some groundwork done, what I would then do is download language learning audio files, for example, from pages like 50languages.com, where they provide you with free translations from basically the target language that you want to learn, and then the translation to your mother tongue. So let's say English, in my case German, or whatever, right? You can also combine them with whatever way you want. And then basically you listen to these audio files while, let's say, you're just like cleaning or cooking. The audio files are 5 minutes each on average. And then how they work is basically you hear how the, like a little phrase, depending on the level that you choose, you hear the little phrase in your mother tongue. Then there's a quick pause, and then you hear the result or the translation in the target language, right? And the great thing about this is that there's like a little gap in between. So you get a couple seconds to think for yourself if you can come up with the translation. So the focus is there, which is great. And since there's a high density of the things that are being said, because of like all the different phrases, one after another, it's just like kind of sequential, there's like a great input. Okay, so basically whenever you cook, you can just take these audio files, download them to your phone, and then just listen to them, let's say 3 to 4 different audio files per session, or you can repeat them, whatever you like, and you have great listening exercise without having to spend additional time, right? Because effectively you're doing something else at the same time, so you don't need an additional hour or two, because you just make better use of your time. And believe it or not, this makes such a huge difference as far as like the speed that you acquire language learning skills, because basically, you don't need more time for it, right? And just by doing that for like 1 or 2 hours every day, I progressed a lot faster than other people, because I was thinking a little bit more pragmatically, how can I combine language learning with activities that I'm already doing? Now, of course, you also need like a certain structure if it's like the first or second time that you learn a new language, because you don't have maybe like the structure or the best approach yet. But just by incorporating this into your daily habits, it's gonna make work wonders, right? And you don't have to use 50 languages. You can also use other audio files. I mean, if you're a little bit more intermediate, what you can do is just go on YouTube, look for different interviews. There's language learning channels like Easy Languages for a lot of different languages, the language pairs that you can use, where, of course, they don't have a translation, but you can still listen to it. But nowadays, there's so much material on the internet that you can use that is for free, that just enables you to learn the language whenever you want. So I hope this was valuable. Let me know in the comments if this was helpful, or if you need me to kind of elaborate more on how that would look like in a more kind of structural setting. And then see you in the next video.